LifeSchool, the homeschooling network of Santvana Community is organizing it. This is the first webinar organized by the LifeSchool. So, and we are very happy to see many familiar faces who are eagerly waiting to hear Neville about the healthy use of media and technology. And Neville and Asha, they are also their children are homeschooled and they are homeschooling their children. And we are journeying together for some 4-5 years. They are also a part of LifeSchool. And professionally, Neville Jose is an IT professional with over 20 years in the industry. And Neville is certified in critical thinking from University of Michigan. And he's also professionally certified in Lean Six Sigma and change management. So and he's also the author of the book. Yeah, what is that? The name of the book, Neville?
The All-Seeing Digital Eyes.
Yeah. So sorry. Anyway, yeah. So we are very happy and privileged to you to be with us to make us aware, know how we can use the technology and media in a positive way. And I'm so happy that many parents other than homeschooling homeschooling parents and who are not in the LifeSchool network are here to hear and know how to use this technology in a positive way. So welcome Neville, and Neville's better half Asha is also there to support him. So welcome Asha. And they have 3 children, 3 angels, and they just celebrated the Archangel's feast now. So you are most welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, but before starting, let us, I welcome Father Denny George, who is a Delhi diocesan priest, and who is, we are privileged, Santvana Community is privileged to have Father Denny George with us for 1 year. The Archbishop had appointed Father Denny for Santvana Community to assist our Father Dheeraj. So we are privileged to have him here today. So Father Denny, we welcome you to this our LifeSchool network.
Thank you.
Father Denny?
Yeah.
Can you make a short prayer?
Yes, yeah. God, our loving Father, we thank and praise you for this evening as we are gathered from different places. Lord, enrich us and also send your Holy Spirit upon Neville George, one who is going to animate and guide us and going to tell us about the challenges and problems today most of the parents are facing. Lord, and also surrender everyone. And as we are going to start this first webinar and Zoom meeting, and it may be a fruitful, and send your Holy Spirit upon each one of us so that we may be able to grasp what all things are discussed and for the betterment of our children, for our family. We make this prayer through Christ our Lord. Amen.
Thank you, Father Denny. Over to Neville.
Thank you. And thanks, Father, for the prayer. So, Ginny, Naveen, if, yeah, okay, I can share now.
You can share.
Yeah, sharing now. All right. So I am also planning to start with a prayer. So this is the verse from Sirach 15, 11 to 20. Don't say, I fell away because of the Lord. What the Lord hates, he won't do. Don't say, the Lord made me go astray. He has no use of sinful people. The Lord has hated everything foul, every foul thing, and those who fear him have no love for such things. He created humanity at the beginning, and he left them to the power of their choice. If you choose to, you will keep the commandments and keep faith out of goodwill. He has put fire and water before you. You can stretch out your hand for whichever you choose. Life and death are in front of human beings, and they will be granted whichever they please. Because the wisdom of the Lord is great, he is mighty in authority, he sees everything. His eyes are upon those who fear him, and he knows every human action. He doesn't command anyone to be ungodly, and he doesn't give anyone a license to sin. And I start with this to also come to my disclaimer, which says that, I do not intend to really tell you what to do or what not to do. My intention with my talk, as well as what I'm presenting today, is to make everyone aware of both sides, the good as well as the bad, or even I wouldn't call it good or bad, because there is good and bad on both sides. It's about each one of us to understand what is good for us or what is good for our children and take it accordingly. So, it requires a lot of discernment. It requires a lot of critical thinking on what is good for us as well as what is good for our children. So my intention here is just to let you know what is available out there, and you can take your decision. With that, I would also want to apologize for my lack of preparedness because I was supposed to give a session today morning to a class. The session was supposed to start at 11:30 and end at 1:30. But at around 1:30, the organizer called me and said, like, the person who was supposed to take the classes for the afternoon cannot do it because of a power failure in his place. So would you be able to take class until evening? And I had to do that. So I have pretty much a sore throat, as well as I didn't really get much time to, work or, rework on these slides. So basically the slides, whatever you're going to see is something that I had put together earlier. Just going to share the same thing again, and we will take it from there. Again, my book, this book was released in 2018. It's called The All-Seeing Digital Eye. It deals with three categories. The first one being privacy. What is privacy, the definition, and what is the law around it, and what you should really be considering as your privacy. The second part is about the security aspects of all these risks and challenges that we have on internet. And the third is the literacy. So pretty much media literacy, understanding what media is and how to go about with it. So this is how the book is designed, and it's a very simple book. I had teenagers and students in mind while I was preparing the book. In fact, one of the biggest inspiration to write the book itself is my daughter, with whom I was reasoning on, how much of a social media presence she should be having. She has a social media presence, but, we are, kind of managing it. I think she is, able to understand, what we want her to do, and she is doing it the right way as far as, we are concerned. Again, I'm not saying that, my equation about it should be your equation about it. It would be entirely different. It is different from person to person. It's different from family to family. As I said, I will not be dictating to you on what to do and what not to do. Moving on. While I was taking this session a few weeks before for another community, it was again a kids session, kids as well as parents were there. So teenagers were there. So for them to realize, like, what it really means, like, what media is today, and, what we should really open our eyes to. I took them through the analogy of the cave, which is extracted out of Plato's book, The Republic. This book, again, Plato lived 2,500 years ago. Whatever was his understanding and the way he was envisioning a society, he was trying to define how a government should work or a society should work. That's the basis of his ideology here. So this particular analogy, which is, the way they've been trying to communicate to ignorant people of the days, like even Jesus used parables. So, I am utilizing that. I split this analogy of the cave into 4 different sections. And, with each section, I explain a certain aspect of, our situation with respect to media or otherwise. And, with that, really try to open up, the kids' critical thinking capacity, as well as, their understanding of, our situation where we are. So, to start up again, the analogy of the cave is part of chapter 7 of the book, The Republic, in which Plato's explaining our situation. So, I will start with the analogy once we, talk a little bit on the privacy side. So the angle that I'm showing here is one is the technical or the science angle of where we stand, as well as the other is about our thinking, on an intellectual level by looking at philosophy on how we could, understand. So there is something here for the technical mind, as well as something here for the intellectual mind to understand and, take it forward. Moving on with privacy. So privacy as it is defined in India today, it's a fundamental right for us. It is a right to protect our inner sphere. So, it talks about like our data, our body, everything that we call private is something that we could protect. We have a right to protect it from government as well as, non-governmental actors, and also with, also from external malicious entry into, anyone who is trying to peep into our life. We have a right to protect ourselves from them. This is a fundamental right, and, first to understand, why privacy is important. So, if I don't have anything to hide, do I really need privacy? That's a question there. All right. So the question is, do we need it? And the answer to it is yes, because, one reason for us to wear clothes is because we have the right and we have the need to protect our body from, the climate, one thing. Second, from external eyes, we don't really exhibit our body to the whole world. So in that way, privacy is important to us. The same way as we protect our body, it's also important that we protect our personal data from, from all these different angles. So, I have defined the data as, 4 different categories here. One is private data. Second is public data. Third is metadata. And the 4th one is big data. So, private data again means any data regarding the person. So for me, my name is private data. My date of birth is private data. The address that I reside in is private data, and so on. So these are all private data. Public data, on the other hand, I could even put it like, my name is a public data, because, that is something that I give out freely. Anyone asks me for a name, I give out my name freely. So name can be classified as a public data. Whereas, the other data that I mentioned, like my date of birth, my address, my bank account number, and so on can be private data. There is something called personal data as well, which is, your data, which you consider as personal, but can either be in private data or in public data. Like my name is personal data, but it is a public data. The same way, my date of birth is personal data and it can be private data, and so on. So the classification goes like that. Metadata. Yeah, I'll just finish these four. And so metadata is data about our data. So it's more like an address. So for you to receive a mail from someone else, they have to write your complete address on the envelope. So, my name, my apartment number, my apartment name, the area name, the postal code, all these kind of information is required for the postman to bring this mail to me. So this address is the metadata that gets this post to come to me. Whereas whatever is inside the envelope is private data which the postman do not have access to. He gets the metadata which is outside to do his job of bringing the mail from, whoever is the sender to me. So that is what metadata is. Metadata also can be, when we make a phone call, so the number that we are dialing, how many minutes we talk to the other person, what are the tower locations of, my mobile as well as the receiver's mobile. All this is metadata, which the service provider. So if my phone is Airtel, then Airtel knows all this data. They have, the right to that data. It can be looked at by Airtel as well as it can be looked at by the state. So if, the police station nearby wants to know the metadata, they could just go to the service provider and get this metadata. They have a right to know that. Whereas the conversation that I had, let's say I called Naveen and I had talked to him for 30 minutes. So the data that I called Naveen, my number, his number, my tower location, Naveen's tower location, all this is metadata and that is accessible to the government. Whereas the exact conversation that happened for that 30 minutes is private data, which the service provider is not supposed to provide to the government or to anyone else unless there is a warrant. So that's how this data is being classified. And finally, coming to big data. Big data is all the data that is extracted about us by all these different players on the internet or anywhere else, with which they would try to manipulate us or try to sell us a product and so on. So an example for big data could be like, you may also be having an experience on this. You go to any e-commerce site, let's say Amazon, you search for a particular product, you are searching for a TV, you looked at a few TVs and then you decided that you're not buying right now. So you close that tab, you open another browser and go to another website. At that point of time, you will be able to see Amazon's ad in this new website, which is advertising TVs to you. So that is pretty much, the big data that Amazon has collected on you when you were in their website, and they tracking you moving from one side to the other. So there are, different ways of tracking it. So they keep tracking it and coming after you, trying to sell the product to you. So in that way, big data is a huge player in the current market. All the, all websites, in fact, collects data about you when you go in there. Once you start the browser till the time you, switch it off, someone or the other is collecting data about you. This is all, it can be privately collected and they use it for themselves. And this data can also be sold to external parties. So in case of Google, they collect this data, but they do not sell the data entirely to an external party. But what they do is use this data to promote advertisements from these external parties to you so that, they could manipulate you into buying those products. So that's how the whole game of big data, as well as the way they conduct the business. Any questions? Anything anyone want to add? Any opinions? Okay, so I will move ahead. So next are a few discussion points. In fact, I don't think I'll go through all, but have to just give you some points on each one of these. So let's see. The first point is social media. Should you be on it? Can you survive without it? So that's a question. Anyone can answer. Give me your points. Then I will also add a few points from my side, and we'll move on. So does anyone want to give it a shot?
We can survive without media at some point of time.
Okay. Yeah. Anyone else?
Hi, this is Manoj here from Mysore. Definitely we can survive without social media, because I am in digital marketing domain. So, so I can personally say that we can definitely live without social media, because I personally don't have a Facebook account. I had it, but I just removed it. So I'm not using it since quite a year, I guess. So of course we can.
All right, Manoj. Okay, so I'll take it forward because we may run out of time later. So the answer here again is I agree with you guys on the aspect that we could survive without it. But is it possible going forward? When it comes to our children, or even for us, when we really want to look at a career and so on, how much is it really possible? The answer pretty much is that it is not possible going forward to survive without social media, because for someone to hire you, if you are an already experienced person, you should have a LinkedIn profile with the right kind of connections and the right kind of exposure put in for the hiring companies HR to look at and to decide whether to take you in or not. And this has come up in the last maybe 10 years or so, where earlier there used to be companies more like the security consulting companies who used to check out on people and report back to companies if a person is genuine or not. Nowadays that business is almost obsolete because HR themselves can get into a social media site and check your whereabouts and try to understand if this person is genuine, their experiences are genuine, their certifications are genuine or not. So in that way, especially when our kids grow up, once they are in college, once they are, about to get their first job and all that, it's very important that they have a social media presence, because if somebody does not have it, today it could be considered that, this person is not genuine. So, we are put into a situation where, this is getting to be a necessity right now. Again, not saying that you should encourage it, but, reaching a position where, it is a necessity, as it's coming right now. Anyone want to add anything? Manoj, do you have any statement on that?
I totally agree with you, because in future it is a need, because even when I had my background verification, definitely, they check my profile from LinkedIn, because I'm pretty active member in LinkedIn. So it is a need in future, even for our kids and for the future generations. But yeah, I'm not okay with all social medias. That's all, like Facebook.
Yeah. So, that's the thing. Again, you decide how much you should be on LinkedIn, how much you should be on Instagram, how much you should be on Facebook, and so on. So, that's the thing. It's a responsibility for each person, right? So, take it forward that way. Moving on. The second question is, almost similar to that.
Dusty. How could the cloths just disappear?
Sorry, was there a question? Okay, going ahead. So yeah, so Manoj, as you said, the second point is on that. Social media has great power and it's a great responsibility. So this particular statement, comes in from Spiderman. When you have great powers, you also have great responsibility. In the movie, they use that particular phrase. So similarly, on social media, it's the same thing. You have great power. You have a power to influence people. You have power to really talk out whatever you want to talk out at any point of time. But along with it comes great responsibility. The same way as we say, do not drink and drive, or drink responsibly. That pretty much means that you have the freedom to drink, but it's your choice whether to drink or not, and it's your responsibility to conduct yourself. So social media is also on a similar lines, like you decide what you want to do, or how you want to manage your kids' social media presence. So again, one more example over there. I used to use Facebook quite a lot, and when Kerala government banned drinking, sorry, they didn't ban drinking. They banned all the liquor shops in the whole of the state. My personal opinion about that was that that is too much of government taking up the power of an individual to decide what is good for him or not. So I had put in quite a lot of posts on Facebook those days, which was anti government, or not actually anti government either. It was more like promoting the power of a person's right to choose. I had put in pictures as well as statements on social media, on Facebook, regarding that. And what ultimately happened was one of my nieces, my cousin's daughter, saw my post, and she went and asked her mother if Uncle Neville is a hardcore drinker. So, it came to my mother in a way like, does he drink a lot? Why is he doing this kind of a thing? And then only I really understood, like, maybe I behaved a little irresponsible by doing this. So, it was in a way, the people who are seeing this, like youngsters, as well as others who are not really aware of my stand on this whole, situation, may get misguided just because of my statement, whatever I put in. So that was a learning for me. Nowadays, I am not at all active on social media. I don't use Facebook. I have an account on Facebook and Instagram. I do go in there at times. I do Instagram more than Facebook right now. And I just go in there to see what others are saying. I never have anything to say from my side. And also, I am active on LinkedIn because of my job and because of whatever I'm doing. There is a lot of professional interaction that I require with candidates outside, as well as people we are trying to hire and so on. So that way, I do have an active LinkedIn profile, which I am regularly checking. But there also, I'm pretty much silent. I do not put in anything on my own. Do not publish papers or articles or anything. Just use it as a passive user. So just giving you my story so that you are aware of how I am doing it. You decide how you want to do it. Going ahead. So yeah, so this is the point that I was just talking about. Actually, I am showing the statement after telling something, I guess. So this is exactly what I'm doing. Let people know who you are. At the same time, do not let the people know who you are. So you should have a profile. Put in your credentials, your educational qualifications, your certifications. If you are doing something, make sure that it is put out there so that somebody today or even later see that and they appreciate it and they come to you for professional help or even personal help. That way, social media has got a lot of power to enhance your career and so on. But at the same time, do not let people know who you are. So if I am, let's say I am an animal activist, I put in some posts regarding, killing of animals. There is no way I would get a job in a leather factory or in a meat processing unit and all this even if I want to, because I am already shown it out on social media that I'm against all this. So, in that way, you should be careful about what you put out there, and your career as well as your life depends on it. Actually, you could see, like, even the riot that happened in Bangalore last month happened because of social media posts. So it's all about, like, how you do it and how you conduct yourself online. It's a responsibility for each individual. Like button, the fame and feedback loop. So this is the addictive part of it. The reason why youngsters get hooked to it. Earlier, there was a social media platform. The first one that was launched was called Orkut. I assume at least some of you may know Orkut. It was Google's social media platform, and it failed. It failed because of the like button which Facebook came with. Google had all the backing, they had the financial power, they had the servers, they had everything, but still Orkut failed just because of the like button that came up on Facebook. On Orkut, when you put in a photo or when you put in a comment, others could comment on it, but nobody really tells you they liked it or they don't like it and so on. So that is the feedback that actually, triggers human beings to really react to it and keep on, adding more and more into, that particular loop. So Facebook came up with this like button. So even if you don't have anything to say about a particular photo, you don't lose anything by just clicking the like button. Whereas the person who posted looks at how many likes I got. And if I got 100 likes, tomorrow again, I'm posting in a new photo on which I am expecting maybe 150 likes and so on. So, this is how that loop is built. And it's all, happening in your brain. Like, you may be aware of this dopamine flow, the way, the brain works. And every time you get a satisfaction, the dopamine that gets released in your brain makes you crave for more. And that is the motivational factor for us to do the things, where we achieve something, we get motivated to do it more and more. So that particular aspect is really being exploited by the social media companies as well as internet, most of the internet sites and gaming sites, where they put in these levels and they put in these challenges in such a way that eventually you would cross it, but you will always feel a struggle to reach there at a point of time, and that makes you craving for more, and you keep playing the game more and more, or you keep coming back with more photos or more comments and so on. So this is a loop that these companies are exploiting to keep you engaged, and through that they are selling you products and they are getting your attention all the way. Moving on, Selfie Paradox. Again, pretty much I mentioned this also, like, nobody likes it. If you see my photo every day on Facebook, obviously you are tired after seeing the first or second photo. Then, you just press that like button just to please me, not because you like my photo, but just to please me. But, that is again, the same loop that keeps on happening, and people still do that. Like, they get addicted to it. Some youngsters, post around 50 pictures every day on social media, and they have a fan following, and they get that celebrity status and so on. So, that's a particular paradox that I just wanted to mention. Moving on, self-pity, it's narcissism or exhibitionism. It's more said like, for men, it is a little bit of narcissism, more like, promoting themselves. Whereas for women, it is exhibitionism. They want to show off, what they have, and, maybe their body and all that. So that's how it is defined. This is self-pity is a study that is currently going on multiple levels. There are multiple universities and it's a pretty much a psychological study that's going on. They have not really come to conclusions on this yet, but they say that you are highly addictive to selfies if you are posting 30 or more selfies per day. So, that's again just for information. The reason, the 6 factors for doing this is like, to create better memories. So, you go somewhere, you want to create this, capture this as a memory. So you take a picture of you in front of a monument or something, and you upload that into social media. So that is like, preserving a memory. Then social competition, your friend is doing it, your friend is taking 10 pictures per day. So you competitively does 10 or 15 pictures, more on that competition level. Attention seeking, again, people, do that. I don't think I have to explain that. Mood modification also happens. People do it to raise their self-confidence. So, you could also see this, when you go online, sometimes you find people, hiding behind something, like hiding behind a cap, hiding behind a camera, hiding behind a mug, and so on. So these are, these pictures really show lack of confidence. So, they would gradually come out of it. So basically that's again a cycle that, youngsters mostly fall into. All right. So, and the last is, subjective conformity, which is like, social belonging. So you want to be part of a certain group. So you post, statuses as well as photos, which is more towards it. So if I am an avid biker, I ride quite a lot, then, I would put in pictures of me riding, going on rides, my bike, and so on. So, that's again the social belonging part of it. The rest, I think I'll just skip. The cookies, being a hounding salesman, I already talked about it. The last one, there is no delete button on the internet, which pretty much means that, if you put in something, if you put in a comment, or you put in a photo or something, like whatever it is, once you put that onto the internet, there is no way of deleting it. You can delete it, yes, but there would be copies of that already created somewhere. Like, the privacy laws as well as the terms of usage for all the social media sites is that, whatever you put in there, even if you have the ownership, they also have a right to it. So even if you delete something, Facebook, Instagram, everyone stores a copy of it, and they could use it, at a later point of time for legal reasons or whatever. It could still be used. So, people should really be careful when they, decide what to put up onto social media or anywhere. Moving on. Are there any questions here? Okay, move on again for the interest of time. So nothing to say here, just 2 pictures. One saying you can trust us, the other examining an individual entirely, including their brain. So 2 companies mentioned as Google and Facebook, but it is not just them. There are a lot more other companies who are doing these things. So this is self-explanatory, I guess. Move on. So, here we come to the analogy of the cave. I would take it faster. So, what Plato really tells over here is that, each one of us, from the time we are born, we are inside a cave and we are in chains. So our hands and legs and our neck also is chained, so that we cannot really look left or right. We can only look straight. And someone is projecting images to us. So as you could see, there is a fire behind, and a person over there is projecting a picture, and you are looking at these pictures and you assume that these are real. So you just see these shadows, and you also hear echoes from inside and outside of the cave, but you are never exposed to reality at any point of time. So this is our human state, the way Plato talks about it. And, he says that we try to understand, what we are seeing and what we are hearing. We try to make sense out of it. But he says that, those things that we initially hear or see are not real. So if we bind it to social media, this is exactly what is happening, like on TV or on social media or any media. today, they just project a version of the reality to us. If an incident happens, you see that same incident on two different news channels, you will get to hear two different versions of the same of the story. So in that way, the media as well as everything else, including our education, is really projecting something to us all the time and make us believe in a certain ideology rather than really showing us the truth. That's pretty much how I would derive the first part of this analogy. Moving on with that, would just explain the social engineering part or the brainwashing part also. This is what I was also mentioning earlier as the big data part. So what happens is they are actively gathering our information. So for example, let's say that I decided to travel to Mysore today or tomorrow, and I am opening Google Maps and giving my final destination as Ginny's and Naveen's place, and I hit and I start this navigation. From that moment onwards, Google knows that I am traveling to Mysore and this is the location that I would be after 6 to 7 hours. From then on, Google can plan what to sell to me on the way or in Mysore or in Bangalore. As a preparation of my travel, they could try to sell me some things. While I'm traveling, they could send me ads or whatever for restaurants on the way and all this. Once I reach Mysore, they could try to sell me from a few shops in Mysore on a few things like discount and so on. So this is that loop that is happening where they are actively trying to engineer your day-to-day life. They are trying to dictate to you what is good for us or what is bad for us. They are trying to get this information by the information that we feed to them for free. These services, whatever is free. So that was one of those statements earlier. If it is for free, then you are the product. In fact, they are selling you to their partners who partner with Google to put up ads onto Google. So in that way, we are being sold to them rather than we getting a service from Google for free, or as a matter of fact, from any company for free. So that is what that particular statement means. So this is how that whole cycle works. So information gathering, then they model the threat. So again, it is called a threat modeling because we are talking about the negative aspects of it. So that's the reason it's mentioned as a threat. Whereas what Google and all is doing is legal business. So it's not really threat modeling that they do. They just do the modeling part. Then they do the vulnerability analysis. What it means is, they have all our history. So let's say that, I am a foodie and I always like North Indian food. They would send me ads of North Indian restaurants rather than South Indian restaurants at that point of time. So in that way, they know my vulnerability or my interests, and they would start giving us that kind of products to encourage us to buy that. Then exploitation. Post-exploitation is again like, this is more data that they collect if we really went in there and bought a product or not. So they get that particular information also. Then they do the final reporting and the whole cycle keeps on going again and again. This is not just for Google. It's for almost all social media companies. In fact, I am also doing it, we are discussing how to engage users to be in this game for more time. So, how can we, encourage people to play more, or how can we put in more advertisements during the games? Like, once a phase is done, then they move on to the next phase. There is a break there. We can put in an advertisement there and so on. So this is all, in a way, social engineering. At the same time, this is how business is conducted today. So I am also a culprit here because I am helping someone else in building this system, which is done in the legal way, whereas there are others who may be doing it illegal as well, to really capture your information and, you know, maybe your bank account information, steal your money and all those. So, you know, it can be used both sides. That's the reason I was also telling you, like, you know, fire and water is kept before you. You decide what to take. You know, that is how, you know, we humans are put up in here. Like, you know, we have this option to select either, and, you know, pretty much giving you that complete picture. Any questions?
Neville, if you don't mind, can I add something?
Sure, go ahead.
I think 70 to 80% of the revenue is coming through ads itself for the Google company.
That's correct. They give all the features for free, right?
Very true, very true.
Google gives everything for free. That means all the users, all of us here should be using Google one way or the other. In fact, you know, maybe 70 to 80% of the world population would be using Google one way or the other. Even people who do not have internet access would be using Google. So they have all our personal data. They have all our vulnerabilities as well. So in that way, the company is very powerful, and they would be, you know, using the data to, you know, really come back to us.
Yeah, I mean, as per the statistics, only 50 to 60% of the population of the world is using internet. That's all, and even 30% of the world's population is using Google, and China is out of the Google's plan. So yep. That's how they.
Manoj. You are in a way helping me. You know, I can rest my throat also for a few minutes.
Never mind. Thank you.
All right. So moving on. Again, you know, this is pretty much about selfies. So, you know, with this slide, you know, I usually ask people, like, you know, what do you think about these two pictures that you have on screen? Then I, you know, with parents, I don't have to play this game. So then I tell the kids, like, you know, shall I remove these two black boxes? And the answer is always no, because, you know, they don't want to see nude bodies. But I remove these boxes to show that, you know, these people are actually not nude. You know, and then I explain it to them, like, you know, these two selfies are mirror selfies, and also taken in dim light in a bedroom or in a bathroom and so on. So I encourage youngsters not to do it. If you want to take selfies, you know, take it in groups with your family or with your friends outside, pretty much places where, you know, it's public, so that no one could actually manipulate your pictures, you know, then, you know, even morph your head to a naked body and all that. So, you know, tell them to take care with these kind of things. So just letting you know about it. Moving on. Yeah, so coming to the second part of the analogy, here Plato talks about an awakening of the person. So he says aporia, which is like, you know, the Greek term that is used, which is like the first step towards knowledge. So you are, you know, electrified, you know, through using an electric eel or something like that. You know, that's how he's putting it. With which, you know, you would really open your eyes. Then it says lysis, which is like, you know, released from your situation of being bound. And then peryagun, which is like, you know, turning around. That means, you know, he is able to see the person who is, you know, moving around with the props, as well as the shadows where it's coming from, the fire behind him and all that. So, you know, see all this and understand that, you know, you've been in a fictitious world. And finally, he mentioned that this is a physi, which is like in the course of nature, this happens to everyone. So this awakening in the second part of the analogy, he mentions that happens to everyone at some point or the other. So we all know it, like, you know, this has happened to us in different levels. Like, you know, sometimes it could be a struggle that we had to go through. Sometimes it could be like even a good lecture or a you know, or a classroom where we had an aha moment, you know, which actually awakens us from a few of the ways that we used to think about things. So this is what he talks about over here. I will move on. So this one I'll just skip it because we don't have time for that. So then coming to the third part of the analogy, where he again tracks back a little bit. He says that you are being dragged out. So that natural course of getting unchained. He backtracks a little bit here and says that someone else or something, some event or a person drags you out of your cave. So he puts it that way, and he says that the person who comes out of the cave struggles to transform. So initially inside the cave it was dark, and the person who came out cannot look at anything. So first thing that he probably start looking at is shadows, because he's used to seeing shadows. But this time he is seeing shadows of the real objects rather than the shadows of a prop or a puppet. So he looks at shadows. Then he starts looking at the reflection in the water. Again, 2,500 years ago, there was no mirrors, and there was no other way of looking at reflections. So much more clearer reflections they start looking at. Then they start looking at the exact objects as is, and finally looking at the sun. And with this, he mentions, he comes to a point like you start seeing the truth. So sun for him is again an analogy that he's using to talk about the ultimate truth or about God. So this is like the awakening of a philosopher, the way he puts it, where you come out of the cave, start looking at things gradually, and finally you look at the ultimate truth. So with that, I am also guiding you to the truth, which is the medium that I would be using is the media literacy, which is pretty much done for better understanding and better judgment of media. What is media literacy? It's like accessing media, analyzing, evaluating, and also creating media. In today's sense, creating media is also very important, because even a selfie that we take and put on social media is creation of media. Again, for students, I take them through these 4 pillars of democracy, which I think for adults it's not required. So emphasize on the need for free media as the 4th pillar of a democracy, the role of media, and the reason it should be free. So today's situation, all media supports either a business house or a political party and all that. So that cannot be considered as free media, and that's again one of the reasons media literacy gets to be very important. Yeah, again, coming to the media literacy in the 21st century, today we are exposed to more media in a day than our previous generation was exposed to in an year. Yeah, please read through the rest. I don't want to really keep talking. It's self-explanatory to us to whatever extent, and if you have questions, then I can answer that. Give me some hot water. All right. Any questions? Manoj, anything you want to add, or anyone else, anything to add?
I think I'm good here, because every point is self-explanatory. So
yeah. Chat is going on. Okay. Let's move on. I think I would finish off in another 15 minutes. We will try to conclude as soon as possible. Then this is about media literacy. So these are 8 principles of media literacy. It talks about all media being a construction. So even when you are taking a selfie, you are aware where you are standing and what is in your background, or you should be aware of where you are and what you're doing. And again, media would always be trying to construct reality. The example I would state is the movie Avatar. I hope everyone has seen that, where we are talking about, or the director is talking about an alien race, who is entirely from another planet, entirely somewhere else. But the way we were given their story was all about their humanity. the values they upheld, and the way they had been running their society and so on. The reason we liked them more than the actual humans in that movie was because these values was absent in human beings in that movie and was present in these aliens in that movie. So it's all about constructing the media as a reality, the way we could relate to it. That's how a media should be created. Then audience negotiate meaning out of media. So the same video that I see and you see, we would derive different meanings out of it. That's a reason two friends go to watch a movie. One may like it, the other may not like the movie. That's because even if it is the same thing that is presented, each person negotiate meanings out of it on their own, and that's the reason somebody likes it and somebody do not. Media have commercial implication. Here I have put it as most, because today on social media there are youngsters mostly who create media without commercial implication. They just want to create something, but there also they are looking for some kind of fame and celebrity status. So it definitely can have a commercial implication also associated to it. So all is definitely true, but there would be some which may not be really looking at a motive out of a media that they created. So that's the reason I just put it that way. Media contain ideological and value messages. I think that is self-explanatory. Media have social and political implications. Medium has a unique aesthetic form. So this just means like, for each medium, it is a different form. So, it is never the same of, watching a match, a cricket match on TV, or listening to it on a radio, or reading about it on a newspaper. It's three different mediums, and it is presented in three different ways. So the aesthetic form also influences you, and you may like a particular medium and you may stick to it. So, again, one of the principles there. And the form and content are closely related in media. So moving on. So deciphering media is pretty much about, who, what, how, why, and all those. When you are creating media, this is more important when you're creating media, or even, when you're receiving media, on, what exactly is your end goal. So when you are creating, for example, a video for a social cause, or even for, your own work or whatever, you should always be asking yourself these questions on what you are trying to do and how you want to achieve it, and then go ahead and create it so that it would be much more effective while you create it. Few biases, just want to talk about it. Like, for us, we are all addicted to a confirmation bias, which is always like us versus them. And us, we are the saints, and them, they are the devils, or they are the evil side. So, this is how all the biases are built up. Even with the church, we have, this kind of biases, the Protestants, or, the people from other faith and all this, it's always like, the way it's put in is like, us versus them. And this happens everywhere. Like, even inside families, you could see, how these kind of biases work out. So, just mentioning that and moving on, just skip this. And optimism bias, the last one, is about we being optimistic about, nothing bad could happen to us. So if I say that, I would not be affected by COVID, I don't have anything to worry, I'm not going to get it, and I just go out without a mask or whatever, that is pretty much optimism bias. That's my lack of understanding that, I am as vulnerable as everyone else to getting this disease. Finally, coming to a statement that was made by Pat Moynihan, you are entitled to your own opinion. So that is your right to form your own opinion based on what you saw or what you heard, but you are not entitled to your own facts. And this is what happens mostly mostly on the political lines and so on. So the Prime Minister may be saying something, the opposition would say that, it was entirely evil. Whatever he said, everything was wrong. And his supporters would say everything he said or everything he does is great. So in that way, again, this particular optimism bias, as well as you owning up or you're, creating your own facts. That's what is happening here. So, ultimately you decide which political party you support or which church you support or which, friend you support. So that's your opinion, but you manipulating facts to support your opinion is where we have a problem. Moving on, the last part of the analogy of the cave, where, Plato's talking about the person going back to the cave and telling others about the world outside. So he's saying like, the process of going back is very active. The person who's going back is very happy to go and spread the knowledge. So he comes into the cave. He struggles with, again, the darkness because he is coming from the light. He struggles, but he still finds his friends and mates. He tells them about the truth. But he says that, there is resistance to it. And he talks about, eventually getting killed also, where he is pretty much talking about the Socrates being killed. Socrates was his guru. So Socrates being forced to drink poison and, commit suicide forcibly. He's pretty much hinting to that when he's saying like, somebody who has seen the truth and the light comes and tells you, the other people about that particular knowledge and you being resistant to it and you eventually killing that philosopher. Moving on, goals of media creation: inform others, amuse others. So this is pretty much when you are making an art form, it is to amuse others, persuade others to your ideology or whatever you want to communicate, and also enlighten others, by spreading values and knowledge. So don't have time, so just go faster. So this is the final part where I would want everyone to come in. So critical thinking is pretty much about deciphering media as well as everything about what you hear and see. So critical thinking is always self-directed, disciplined, monitored, and corrective thinking. So, as this picture shows you, like, one person's brain, it is coming out as pretty much gibberish, whereas the other person understanding it in a spiral, in a good way. So that is pretty much, how you should act with media or otherwise. That is pretty much critical thinking is all about. The core skills required for critical thinking: one is curiosity. If you are not interested in a topic, then you don't apply critical thinking there. So, for example, somebody is talking about rocket science and you don't really have an interest in rocket science. Obviously, you're not curious and you don't want to listen too much about it. So your curiosity is lost. So you're not applying critical thinking there. Similarly, creativity: when somebody is telling you something, you should have a creative image of that, running in your brain or in your mind for better understanding of it. Third is skepticism, which is like, taking everything with a pinch of salt, irrespective of who is giving you the guidance or who is giving you, the lecture. Let it be the bishop, or let it be a pope himself, or let it be a political leader, whoever is giving the lecture, still take it with a pinch of salt so that you can analyze it and you can understand it. You can come to your own conclusion with it. That's what it means. Last point, humility. If you are already a full glass, if you think you know everything, then you don't have the capacity to take in anything more. So humility, that I am still ignorant or I would have to get more and more knowledge, is really essential for critical thinking. So 4 points that you should use or you should practice to start using critical thinking. To practice it, again, ask questions, gather and analyze information, arrive at reasoned conclusion rather than just taking it in, remain open-minded to alternative systems of thought, and finally communicate effectively. So that is like, you are interacting with the other person rather than just taking it in. So this is when you want to feed your idea back to the other person. So effective communication also comes in there. Moving on. So yeah, I'll skip this. Yeah, so again, a final conclusion on the philosophy aspect. As you could see in this picture, this is the big picture of whatever we've been discussing. On the bottom, you could see the inside of the cave, and on the top, you could see the outside of the cave. And on the left side of the picture, you could see that, it is, both are a real world itself. One is less real and the other is more real, but it is the same world. So it is about, being, having that enlightenment, or, being able to look at things in a better way is what Plato really is trying to show us as a big picture. As a conclusion to the book, he says that, a republic should be governed by a philosopher. He is limited in his thought when he says that. He says that somebody who has the insight or somebody who has seen the truth cannot be corrupt. Whereas we know that, that also is not the truth. The rest of the 2,500 years that we've been going through, we know that even if you have the knowledge, you could still be corrupt. He didn't have that particular insight at that point of time. So he said a philosophical ruler or a king could really rule the world a better way, rather than a democracy where people who are ignorant are trying to select their own leaders. So people are ignorant, the leader is also ignorant. So obviously they are all struggling in the dark. They are not able to do a good job about it. So again, I've already made the connections on how, this should be looked at from a media perspective, or, in our own caves. In each one of us, probably we are enlightened in a few aspects, whereas there would be other aspects where we are still in a cave. So we should really use our critical thinking aspects to really bring us out of the cave entirely, to look at the world or look at the, the truth in its right form. That's pretty much where I would conclude today. And I can take questions right now. As I said, I just showed you both sides of the story. I didn't really conclude. I didn't ask you to go either ways. I didn't ask you to go left, neither right. Just leaving it open for each person to decide what is good for themselves, as well as for their family, their children, and, give them guidance accordingly. So I'm open to questions. Right now we can, discuss a few points in case anyone has anything.
I have a quick question. With this technology, with this conditions, how do you think the mankind is going? Is it going in the right direction, or is it in the part way, or what is your take on it?
See, that's the thing. Like, we, God created us with that right to choose. The tree from which Adam and Eve ate, that is called the tree of good and evil, right? It could be either ways. So it is very difficult to say that something is good or something is bad at any point of time. It's about us, applying our right kind of thoughts to it, and also, being open to, like, more information and, better understanding. That's how I would put it. And you can add, Manoj, if you have any insights on it, any thoughts about it.
No, I'm good here. But as I see, recently I saw a picture. Trust doctors, not the internet. So even if you get a headache, or even if you get cough, cold, so family themselves, they take up, they Google it, and they see, and oh, this is what you have got. They just conclude it. They don't even discuss. They just conclude it and say, take this tablet. You will be fine by tomorrow. So without any knowledge, without any perspective of thinking, or without any, like you said, like you showed, like critical thinking of things, people are deciding on few things using the media or using the technology, as discussed here. So I think it should be used skillfully. The information is a lot, but the right usage is very less here.
Exactly. So, just to add something that I saw on WhatsApp last day. somebody had sent me, to prevent you from getting COVID, drink hot water and also inhale steam. So if it was that simple, then, the world should have already, got over it, right? So, people still see that, people believe it, and people forward it. We cannot really, do anything about it. You see it, you laugh over it, and you just, conclude whatever you want to conclude.
Yeah, Neville, this is Robin. I'm audible?
Yes, Robin, go ahead.
Yeah, actually one question from this full session, I want to ask with your experience, you are you are understanding we are in a kind of cave. So are you in it? This is kind of we are understanding we are in a cave. It is a age with respect we are in certain age we will be always in a cave, or it is a age duration will make us out from this cave, or anything age is a factor, or what I want to understand if we want to make our children also understand the factors what are affecting them, if it is not appropriate for them to understand, the age is not making them us to understand what we are thinking and what they are thinking, then how we can what is the factor behind that is my concern
Yeah, see, again, the cave analogy is just an analogy. Somebody could be in a cage or in a cave all their life. As long as you are not open to, other person's suggestions or the way into a different, thought process. We could see that around us, right? People sometimes, again, I don't know if this is an appropriate example, but you could hear about Modi bugs and all that, right? Whatever Modi does or whatever Modi says, they are completely bought into it, irrespective of what he says and all that. And there is no age limit to it. It could be from a 10-year-old kid to 90-year-old person also could be that. So, that is the way, I look at it. In fact, I am against role models also, because the way I look at it, there is definitely a negative side to each person. You take Gandhiji, or even you take saints and all that, right? There would be some negative sides to each person. There is also a saying there is no saint without a past, and there is no sinner without a future. So that pretty much says that, every one of us, during our life goes through a lot of temptations, and we all fall at some point or the other. And, that is how our life is going to be. So revelations about a particular aspect could happen anytime. When you are 90, it may happen about a few things. When you are 10 years old, it may happen about a few things, and so on. So, it is a completely relative, I would say it's a scale, it may start from a +100 to a -100, and you are pretty much born on a 0, and you take it either ways, right? It could go either way about our ideologies, the way we, conceive a few facts, the way we look at things. That's pretty much the way I see it. And also, just to add, there was question about how to restrict screen time, how to restrict the usage of social media and all for kids. One thing is, I think very important that they understand this fame and feedback loop that I was talking about. So if you put in a selfie, there are many here with teenage kids and all, including my daughter. She does not put her own pictures. She does artwork, and she puts in her art onto Instagram. So, once she puts that, and then from then on, her thought process is, okay, so how many people like my work? How many likes have come in? That is something that she always gauges herself or her art with. And I tell her, just ignore it entirely. You do your art to enjoy yourself. You show it out, obviously that is fine, because others can also look at your art, appreciate your art, but don't count the likes that is coming in on each art. I have seen her also going and blindly liking others' art so that they are aware of her presence and they also come and like her art and all this. So this is this loop that I'm talking about. So, in a way, it keeps happening with everyone, like, especially the kids, when they get onto social media, it's an entirely different world that just opens up to them. So they will go on that particular ride a little bit. And I think you should allow that ride also to a certain extent. Let them go through it. Let them, learn to fly solo rather than we always, trying to restrict them. But at the same time, always keep monitoring them and always keep giving them these right guidelines. Talk about these, comments and likes and everything. I always tell my daughter, any day you get 100 likes, tomorrow there could be 100 dislikes also. And someone could also bully you or attack you on social media. So be aware of it and, conduct yourself based on those particular points. So, I think these are the guidelines that we could give to our kids. Restricting them is no longer an option, as I was telling earlier. We have to allow them, even including gaming. One of the guys who work for me, he one day he just told me, like, I'm going to take a break. So I thought, okay, like in that case, he's going to shut down his laptop, go out for a walk or something. That's what I thought. But after an hour, when he came back, when he logged back in, I just asked him, so what did you do? And he said, I was playing a game. So he didn't even move out of that seat that he was sitting on. This is the new generation that is coming up. This is the way they are bringing themselves up. I was quite surprised, because for me to shut down or to relax, I have to move away from the system. Whereas for him, he is relaxing by playing a game. For me, that would be stressful. So, it's an entirely different ball game altogether. And, there would be generation gap also, like from a parent's perspective, when we look at him, again, don't know what is good or bad, what is right or wrong. We just have to guide them to, a certain extent, so that they will also start taking the right decisions probably. Okay. Any other questions? Anyone? All right, Jenny and Naveen, over to you.
Yeah.
Is there anything else? Any other questions?
Yeah. Anybody has got any more questions?
I guess that's it.
No, I would like to thank Neville for this beautiful, informative session. Am I audible?
Yes, Prince.
Yeah,
You're welcome.
Yeah. The last thing that you shared was just it's a superb thought. Like, we should be making our children like we should be encouraging them or equipping them to make decisions on their own. Decisions on their own on the reliability of data, or how these things can be trusted, or how to what extent they should go, and things like that. I think that is a good thing. Each of us, if we won't be able to guide them in subjective issues, but if we train them to think critically on how to make decisions in such scenarios, that would be a great thing. I appreciate that thought, Neville. Thank you so much.
You're welcome, Prince.
Thanks a lot, Neville, spending this much time, especially after a hectic day. The whole day you were spending time, plus this almost like 1.5 hours. Surely it was very much informative, plus today's time, no, especially because of the COVID, and children are on what do you call no, homeschooled, means not as we are doing now. School are online schooling. That's and we don't know what is happening, because my sister, she was telling, I don't know what she is viewing and how I should make her understand. And this is one of the where really your session, no, if this information, if we can give it to a teenager, surely they may think about, okay, like as you said, no, that when the things are given free, they are selling me.
Yes.
I am the product. If this idea, if it is clicked in a teenager's mind, that's a wonderful thing. Once again, thank you, Neville and Asha, both of you. Happy to listen to your session on behalf of Santvana Community and LifeSchool. Thank you very much.
Yeah, all right. Thanks everyone. Have a good night. Bye.
Thank you, Neville. Have a good day. Good night.